Welcome to the Merakairos Report podcast, the official podcast of the Merakairos ecosystem. Here we keep you connected to what's happening inside the MK Lab, introduce you to the makers building throughout the MK Makers Network, and explore the trends shaping the future of podcasting, content, and mission-driven brands. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the MK Report. We have a lot of updates in the world of podcasting and the MK Lab and MK ecosystem. So let's jump right into it.
Welcome.
Anything happen interesting for you this week?
No, except Ryan. Ryan came in a couple times.
Ryan did come in a couple times.
But we'll get back to him a little bit later.
Yeah. We also had Oli, our middle child, come in. We've been rotating the girls while they're on summer break. Oliana came in with us and made this centerpiece for us. We have no idea what it is, but
it looks like a cup man. But I think it's pretty interesting getting kids off of the iPad at home, but bringing them here and saying, here's a bunch of random stuff, like go create.
Right.
And they are.
Yeah.
And both Aaliyah and Oli excel at that. So it's been interesting to see what they've come up with.
But the cool thing is that it comes out of their imagination. Mm-hmm. Everything that they create is always out of their own imagination, not like guided YouTube videos or something like that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But anywho,
speaking of creators, podcast studios are now being built in luxury resorts. So guests at the Baha Mar Resort in the Bahamas can book studio time at their new podcast studio and cafe. The studio is called The Studio at Baha Mar and has already served over 12 plus podcasts. I think
just 12.
Yeah, I mean that they listed, right? Probably their most popular ones.
Not our 200. No, I'm just kidding. not trying to throw shade.
I mean, this overall line item in news, I guess, is not really focusing on Baha Mar Resort, but it's specifically podcast studios being now built into just hotels in general.
Yeah,
and that's like the new guest experience. That's the new spa. So instead of spa, it's, podcast studio.
Yeah.
But to me, that makes sense, because we've already encountered somebody who we've popped up for, which was Last to First podcast by Jason Burns. That was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Can you speak on that?
Yeah. So we went over to the Sheraton over in the Marina. North Harbor Island over in downtown San Diego. And, he had a conference that he's a president of Final Mile Distribution nonprofit. And so he's, hosting this conference here in San Diego for the second year in a row. And he had us, he had booked us the year prior in studio and had his guest for season 1 to come in studio from the event. And that was about 12 guests or something like that over 2 or 3 days. And so when he came last year to come film, he was like, hey, can you guys set up in my hotel room? Or, can we try to get it into a conference room? And we're like, not really trying to move it into a conference room because, it's our equipment. That's our whole livelihood right there. So, we ended up popping up right in his hotel room, and, just seeing how we kind of initiated that because there wasn't any hotels doing that, but I definitely see hotels, especially in luxury hotels, boutique hotels, and like residence hotels, like a Marriott Residence Hotel, setting up more podcast studios for their guests to have those amenities to, going in line with the creator economy and where things are heading.
Yeah, I do think that it serves a purpose in podcast hosts or podcasts who are arranging for their guests to be flown in, right? So just meeting them at that hotel. But I don't see it being taking anything away from the industry for podcast studio owners. I still think that there's a lane for us specifically who are focused on podcasts and the overall experience. Like I don't know about people being sent over to the Marriott to do a podcast. You know, they're going to specialized studios that fit their brand, that fit some sort of alignment within their brand or business, that has a certain aesthetics or something. So I don't see us as podcast studio owners going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're starting to see a lot of podcast studios pop up through San Diego, or really just all over the world, especially in like Dubai, right? We heard from a previous client of ours that in Dubai, they have studios on every corner, right? And it's kind of treated like almost like a 7-Eleven convenience store, you know? So it hasn't quite touched that here in San Diego, but around the world, you're going to start seeing a lot more studios open up. But to your point is video production companies and podcast studios are like their own niche, because they are going to have to start to adapt to their brand, to other people's brands, you know, and build around that and create studio sets around the people's brands. Because if it's just tailored off of convenience and accessibility, then why wouldn't I just go to a Walmart or a Baha Mar or, you know, some of these like other, I don't want to say lower quality, but probably just higher convenience studios for someone that's traveling, right?
Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be more resorts following suit in this type of like amenity experience, a continental breakfast type of thing? Or is it like a spa resort type of thing where, you know, you have to pay top dollar like a spa to go and utilize the studio? Or is it like a booking, like a meeting room?
I think it's going to be something similar to a meeting room. I don't know how big is this industry currently?
$39.6 billion.
Right. So there is money in it. There is a return on it. I don't know how much hotels are going to invest in curating this experience, I guess, for podcast guests now. Currently, I think as the industry progresses, probably eventually they're going to create multiple hotel rooms, or not hotel rooms, multiple podcast studios or rooms. It might become something or an extension of. It might be something like the studio by the Marriott, the studio by the Sheraton, right? It's going to be something like this where it's an extension of its own studio. Maybe I'm just giving out like straight game to somebody who's listening, right?
Sure.
But as of now, I don't think that that's their main focus. And so I don't know if they're going to dump some money into it now or a little bit later. But I do think hotels are going to start following suit, because to me as a podcast owner, it makes sense. It makes sense that you're meeting a certain clientele that needs the amenity. And if you have it, I think more people are going to go there specifically because you have it.
Which is really interesting, because in San Diego, like, we are the number one podcast studio. When you go to look up, you know, podcast studios in San Diego, when you look up the MK Lab, and so people are commuting from the airport. You know, we have someone coming in from Chicago next week. You know, it's just what it is, right? But yeah, how does that affect someone like us, where we're about 25 minutes from the airport, to just having it right in your hotel room if you're in, say, Little Italy, or if you're in, you know, staying over by the harbor or right next to the airport. It's definitely going to be interesting. But do I feel threatened by it as a studio owner? Not necessarily, because you have your own brand identity to every single studio, I think. Some people are more on the convenience and accessibility side, and then, you know, you also have us that are more on the high value, you know, premium stakes studios, industry standard equipment, broadcasting, those types of things that are available with us.
Right. Speaking of the podcast industry, the interest in podcast advertising has reached a record high. So according to the research from Westwood One, 76% of agencies and advertisers are advertising in podcasts. So this is 5 times higher than it was 12 years ago. Brands are seeing podcasts as a real place to reach people. And I think that that's already a given. But the thing is that podcast ad budgets are still pretty small. With that being said, there is real opportunity for smaller creators, niche shows, podcasts, or local podcasts and community-driven brands. So you don't have to have the biggest podcast to be valuable. This is also going to where a lot of brands are seeking micro influencers, right? They're not looking for all of these like big celebrities to represent their brands. They're really looking at the micro influencers who have real reach with real people and are super niched, right? Because those are the people who are buying versus somebody who has like, I don't know, over 100,000 followers, and they like, it's really hard to convert because your reach is everywhere. You know, they're not in your hometown. They're probably people across the world or across the country, but are they actually buying from you and what you say?
Yeah, are they actually engaged with what you have? And where are they engaged? Because if you are a US-based company looking to place advertising placements on a podcast or in any form of media, you know, and you're trying to target a US-based audience, I don't want 70% of your audience to be in Dubai or in Canada, you know, or Africa, right? Like, I want it to be in the US. And so I think there's going to become these different market segmentations where advertisers are going to go and see, is this podcast 70% US based, or is this podcast 70% Canadian based or Asia based, right? And that's the way that they're going to start forming placements. And they're already doing that at the highest level. But I think that a lot of companies aren't doing that as well right now. They're still trying to figure it out. Like Jet just went to a conference a week ago and had Intuit and what's the ZipRecruiter? Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the other one? Like LinkedIn? It's ZipRecruiter. And there was another company there, and they were asking Jet, like, how do I actually get into this space, and where do we price for ad placements and things like that? And for a company of that size to not really have the answer to that, because they've only focused on traditional marketing or TV commercials, right? Bigger form media. It's interesting to me that like they don't even have the answers to that. It is a real opportunity to start driving your own curated audience that is heavily engaged with you. And then if that seems fit for a brand to come and work with you to place advertisements on you, they're going to find you. And you can also start going out to them and say, hey, this is what my data looks like behind my podcast, right?
Yeah, I know we're talking about micro media channels, but I seen with a micro influencer, right? Now she's like mega influencer. But at the time, this was 2023, 2024 when I met her. And she was like, well, I don't know how to price these people. I don't know what to charge them because people are coming to her, restaurants were coming to her for reels, but she didn't know how to gauge her price. And I couldn't really help her on gauging the price, but I told her, if you had an audience all over, say, the UK, and you had an audience all the way in Africa and China and stuff, like you trying to
approach these local restaurants,
as a restaurant, a former restaurant owner, right? Does that actually help you? No, you become aware across the country, yeah, but who's actually coming into your store? And her audience was, she's like, well, they're all from San Diego. I'm like, that's so valuable, right? That's so valuable, right? But she had that curated audience, that niche audience, all San Diegans who appreciated her content, and they highly engaged, right? So they are commenting, they're liking, they're sharing. At the time, I think it was like kind of faceless. But now she's now in front of the camera. That's what brands are looking for in your podcast too. And so I think this is a real hit for your local podcast or your micro media channel that you're building, right? And so you don't look to create a podcast just for exposure, just so you can meet that quota in your overall brand. but really consider this as your platform to reach the right people that you want to work with.
Yeah, I agree. And something to call out that we're differentiating here is that we're not telling you to become another influencer, another micro influencer. This is you becoming a media channel, right? So brands are able to start buying into you because you are the media channel. You are the media platform. People can come to you, and you have the specific audience that resonates with these corporate brands.
So to our next line item of the creator insights. So here's where it gets interesting. Spots Now has developed a new AI-powered search tool to find the right podcast for ad buyers. So instead of brands having to manually search through tons of shows and guess which ones might be a good fit, Spots Now is using AI to match advertisers with podcasts based on audience, category, content, and campaign goals. This matters because podcast advertising is getting more serious, and brands are not just looking for big shows anymore. They're looking for the right shows. So they're looking for the ones with the right audience, the right offer, the right brand messaging. So for smaller creators and niche podcasters, this is a good thing because if your show has a clear audience and a strong point of view, AI-powered tools like this would help right brands discover you faster.
And no, we're not a sponsor.
Yeah, we're not a sponsor.
We're not sponsored by Spots Now. You know, it's really interesting because there's also other platforms that are already doing this. Like when you create and hashtag not a sponsor also is Buzzsprout, which we've been on as a distribution platform for a really long time. You can sign up for their advertising pool, which I don't remember the exact platform that they partner with. But yeah, it sends it out to a directory and says, you know, this podcast is in health and wellness. This podcast is in spirituality. This podcast is in, you know, comedy, whatever the case may be, business and finance. And it would match you, you know, based off of what you had directly on platform with Buzzsprout. But what I'm assuming with Spots Now is that it's taking from what's all over in every single distribution platform, right? Not just Buzzsprout, but Libsyn, Art19, you know, all of these different distribution platforms, or just basically what's out on the market, and is saying, hey, out of all of these health and wellness, here's the audience level that they have here, estimated audience level that they have. Here's the estimated, you know, reach that they have, and how much revenue they may be looking for placements or things like that. Or is it more of like a listing site as well, where like the podcasts also, like as a podcast host, they're able to place their podcast data insights on their platform, or no?
I'm unsure to the extent, but I do know that there were some big names that have already heavily invested into utilizing it.
Got it.
So if they're already using this one specifically, they're not going to someone like Podcorn. I don't remember where they're like, oh, okay, well, if here's a checkbox. Right. It's not like that. They're really finding the ones that best align with them. And I think that it's pretty extensive. With all that being said, what is the key takeaway?
People want to work with you. They just need to find the right people to work with, right? So if you have the right message, you have the right offer, you have the right brand, right? You have the right audience, they're looking for someone to work with. Whether you are a micro media company, a major media company, whether you have little to no followers or a lot of followers, like it's just a matter of, do you have an engaged audience that people are going to buy from, because that's what they're looking for, right? If they're going to invest into you for sponsorship, they're looking for a return on that investment, right? So even if it's a matter of a small show and they're putting $500 towards sponsorship, they're looking to get at least $1,500 or $2,000 or however much else more that they can get from that ROI, right? You don't have to get a $15,000 sponsorship for your show to be successful, right? If you are just getting an opportunity with these brands, like it can grow into something bigger, right? And also on top of that, they may not just do a sponsorship with you. They may actually want to work with you as a service, right? If you sell software or if you sell professional services or whatever the case may be, on top of what your podcast is offering, if you have the product or service on the back end, they may want to work with you because they see that you have a trusted audience that's already working with you as well, and they may need that.
My question to that is, what key metrics should businesses or brands provide to those businesses or brands to get that sponsorship? Like, what are they looking for?
Yeah, so they're looking for an audience segmentation. So where is your demographic, right? Is it in the US? Is it in Canada? Is it in the Philippines, right? Where is your audience, your primary audience located at? They're looking at open rates, right? They're looking at how many views, how much reach does your podcast have on both audio and video. They're looking at how many downloads your podcast has. They're looking at age and demographics. So is it male, female, 18 to 24, 24 to 35? Yeah, those are the key metrics that they're really looking for.
What would give a brand or a podcast host or show, what would give the one up? What would give them the advantage over other ones? Other than just high numbers, or is it just high numbers?
Authenticity. How much do you relate to your audience, and how much does the brand relate to you? Like, do they see you as an ambassador of their product? Are you the right fit for them, right? How do you look? How do you carry yourself? What type of messaging are you giving off? Because not all marketing is good marketing,
Yeah.
Sometimes if it's a brand that you're working with, right? Because brand is really just reputation. So what's the reputation that you are helping to amplify and multiply for this brand?
So if a business owner has a good brand, but they haven't invested into marketing at all, if they haven't poured into their own content and getting their word out, like, where do they even start?
So if a business owner really wanted to scale their brand and audience through social media, like, you have to start with the 4 B's, right? Which is of building an audience, which is you can either borrow it, build it, buy it, or beg for it. Build it. We'll start with build it. So build it is coming into a studio or, creating content at home, and you are building it from scratch, right? You're building it from the ground up. Starting YouTube or posting shorts on YouTube or Instagram, right? Build it. You can buy it. So this is where you get into paid media, paid socials, where you create the content and you go and buy media placement so that you can start to attract leads, right? You can start to attract an audience. Buy it. You can beg for it, right? Hey, major company, hey, good friend of mine that has a large following, hey, influencer, can we please work together? Beg for it. Or you can borrow it. So hopping on another person's podcast that's in a similar niche and an audience as yours, that you're trying to build around, and then you say, hey, you're a part of health and wellness, I'm a part of health and wellness, let's make some health and wellness together, right? And if you want a deeper breakdown on what this could look like in your brand or business, then take the next workshop where we're going to discuss this in person in greater detail here at the MK Lab.
So I have another question. How long does it take to grow an audience that advertisers will be willing to invest into?
If I wanted to grow an audience that advertisers would be willing to invest into, I'd start with a content system, right? Because with the right system, it could take you as little as 90 days with a more established brand. And it could take you a little bit longer if you don't really have a brand established. But I would say that it takes 90 days, maybe even less, if you have even remotely a following in your brand.
Where do you get that 90 days from?
Comes from a client of ours, right? With Mark. We took his brand to exponential heights, to produce a real business asset from it by leveraging this content system that we have, whether it's a podcast or whether it's YouTube talking head videos, taking that long form video and going through the proper distributions, editing, distributions, and call to actions towards his ULC, right? His Unbeatable Leader Challenge that he was running for a time period. And we had people signing up for that webinar. We had like 300 people, 365 people, 67 people sign up for a webinar. And then he's able to go and sell from the webinar, right? And then you also have people that attended the in-person session with that, all from content.
You developed the system that we use, the Scale Content Engine. We use that with Mark. We use that within our own systems of Merakairos. Where did that start? How did you even go about developing it, establishing that, and saying that we're going to run with that this works?
I mean, really, it's just about transformation. People pay for transformation. People pay for speed, right? People pay for effective efficiency. And so taking what I've learned through process improvement when I was in the corporate world and even when having the restaurant, right? Always trying to find a way to produce the best product, service, and quality that I could deliver to somebody else. That's what I wanted to do. And so like from the lab and what we have here with a podcast studio, I'm thinking to myself, like, what is it that people actually desire and actually need for their business so that they can stop burning money, so that they can start taking vacations, so that they can stop becoming a full-time content creator, right? That's what you're able to implement when you put a system together that works for you instead of working against you and you having to do everything off the top of your dome or having to have your team try to curate different ideas that don't actually work, right? Like I wanted to put together that type of content system where people can have real results in the shortest amount of time possible. That's high efficacy, high effectiveness, and the most efficient.
Nice. What would you say is the biggest draw for you to help these business owners do that?
My biggest draw to help these business owners scale a content system or really just systems in general is because I didn't have access to resources, and I really wish that I did earlier on so that I could eliminate the time that it took for me to grow what I've grown. I think the biggest thing for business owners and entrepreneurs is that you need to eliminate the amount of time that it takes for you to grow something so that you can continue growing it, if that makes sense. I spent a lot of time working in the business instead of working on it. And so when you create a system, right, that's what helped us as restaurant owners get out of Smackin' within 4 years instead of staying in it through 6 years. Right. Where we didn't have to be in the business. And so we could just show up, right? If we wanted to show up, we could show up. We didn't have to do it. And so the same thing applies to this business is I want to help coach and mentor people, business owners, founders, creators to create the system that's going to help them gain leverage in their business so that they can only work, say, 2 hours on their content, because I know how vital it is as a business owner to create content for your business to be able to stay growing, successful, and scale in your business. And I just care for that. Like I want people activated and multiplying in and through their gift, you know? in their talent, in their assignment, in their business.
Moving forward into the MK ecosystem, what's going on? This past week, we've had a few different types of creators come through the MK Lab recently, which is exactly what we love to see. You know, the space being utilized, creators coming in, doing their thing, and also the community aspect of it. We have our longtime member, Ryan Smith. He knocked out 2 podcast episodes last week as a part of his Creator Plus passes. And even this week, he's knocked out 2 bookings. So he is just on a roll with his Creator Plus pass. My question is, what benefits do you think that Creator Plus pass bundle serves to those who take advantage of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just an opportunity for creators, founders, business owners to create more and save more, right? So in the bundle, you get 10 passes to utilize the studio, and it's heavily discounted, so that you have the opportunity to go and create more, you know, and save more. And so that's exactly what we've seen with Ryan. And so far, I think he's gone through like 6 or 8 bookings of the 10 already. And Ryan's been creating with us for like the past 18 months or so. When you are a business owner, you have your times when you can do it, right? And so he has his times where he's like, hey, I need to knock it out, because if I don't, then I'm going to be busy with my business.
As you were speaking, I think learning from Ryan and how he's going about it is not only is there like an incentive to knock out these 20 episodes within the time frame for the Creator Plus Pass longevity, but it's encouraging momentum, right? So he's able to knock these out because he's like, well, I need to get these out. I only have up until this point, but it's also encouraging. It's like, well, yeah, I knocked out 2 last week. I knocked out 2 the week prior, and I'm going to continue on. And I think I can do more with our online system of booking, that it's made it so convenient. So it's just something I was thinking about.
And also with that, this past weekend we had Forthright Curtis come back to the studio and use the solo set, which is just a variation of this set that we're in right now, to create more VSL and ads, using the teleprompter and just getting active on boosting up his AI email writing company.
He was able to do a lot more ads in a short amount of time. So that first time that he booked with us was 3 hours worth that he booked with us. But after getting the hang of it, the hang of our systems, integrating, sending us the scripts and everything, and we're able to be ready when he walked in, he was able to shave off 1 hour. Yeah,
right? And bang out way more content too. Yeah, because he already got into the groove of it. And that's the thing, is like you could batch like, 15, 20 pieces of short form content in the span of like 2 hours, you know? And on top of that, like he recorded some VSLs. So getting his website prepared, getting his funnels prepared, right? So that his VSLs are ready, like all to do that in the span of like 4 hours. He was able to create enough content to fill his website, to fill his ads for like the next month or so. Really just depends on like how much ads you're gonna be running, right? And how many creatives you want to create. But yeah, you could create like, legitimately like 15, 20, 30 pieces of content in the span of like 2 hours.
The way I saw him break it down, and I don't know if this will help for others, but it was like a whole script of just hooks. So we just did like 10 hooks there, different variations, because it becomes a plug and play. And you can do your A/B testing from that, right? So you have your hooks, all of your CTAs, the meat of your content or your VSL, right? And then you just like plug and play those. Maybe this hook with this messaging, with this
call to action.
Your CTA.
That's the exact same system that we use in our business when we were rolling with Mark.
Yeah.
Right? Is you come in, we have your hooks, we have your call to actions, we have your body ready, and then you go and you create it, and then you ship it out, and we know exactly how to ship it out to make you, get leads converting either on a Facebook form or getting leads converted on an opt-in directly on your website, or leads converting on, say, a webinar, challenge, masterclass, or workshop. So,
Yeah, we also welcomed a new studio user, Alvaro from Prime Scale Creative, a content marketing agency based in LA. He booked our legacy set for an interview podcast production. So something that was interesting in talking to him was he was telling us, Los Angeles, they have so many podcast studios, right? San Diego, couple, and they're popping up. I've been seeing ads everywhere. They're popping up. So they're looking for something specific, and they searched around, and then they found ours, and they're like, this is what we're looking for. And I thought that was pretty nice. It was like, oh,
it's not the first time.
It's not the first time.
Yeah, we get a lot. It's really interesting to me that we get a lot from LA, and they all say the same thing, like, this is the best studio we've been to. This is, like, there's nothing like it over in LA. And it's like really interesting to me because you would assume that a place like LA would have this type of studio environment, but it really doesn't. Like, we've really created a special opportunity for these brands and business owners to come and create in a space that is professional, that is hospitable, that is, industry standard equipment. You know what I mean? And I think that's something to, like, boast about for our business. You know? Like,
he said when he got here and he got behind our equipment, he's like, I'm so glad. You have no idea what it's like to not have a turnkey business. So I'm so glad. And he called us a turnkey business because you can just come in and you can just start.
Yeah.
Right? Because we not only prepare it, but we have the equipment that is used across many high-end productions. Because we are.
Yeah.
Right? So I really took that personally, and I'm like, wow, that's great.
Yeah. I love it. I love it that we're getting these out-of-towners from LA, Chicago coming in. All over right now. So excited to see what the range of the next projects are coming down the pipeline with these creators and these brands. So but thank you for tuning into today's show. We hope that you got some insight out of it, learned a little bit more, got some value, and we love sharing all of the cool and fun things that we're doing here at the MK Lab and within all of the moving parts of the MK ecosystem. So if you're wondering how to get involved, here are some of your next steps. Like and subscribe to this channel or podcast, whatever platform you are watching or listening to on. Follow us on socials at the MK Lab, at MK Makers Network, or us personally at Christian and Graham, with an N in the middle of Christian and Graham, and at Steffany Graham, 2 F's, A-N-Y, Steffany Graham. Or join the Merakairos Brand and Demand Roadmap at merakairos.com/roadmap. All of this information will be listed in the show notes as well. Also, if you want to learn more about this content system that we're developing here at the MK Lab and within the Merakairos ecosystem, you can join the next content workshop that we're hosting in person here at the MK Lab at our content studio. It's going to be a 3-hour workshop where we're going to be learning, and we're also going to be implementing. And so if you want to learn more about that, you can check out merakairos.com/workshop. But that wraps up this episode. That's everything. So thank you for being part of the MK ecosystem. Stay connected to what's happening inside the MK Lab and Makers Network. I'm Christian.
I'm Steffany.
And this is the Merakairos Report. Keep creating, keep building, and keep showing up with purpose. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace.
Bye.